Hi there. When we hear news that's really challenging and we don't really know how to face it, what do? We pray. And what does that prayer look like? If we look at the Bible, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. It's like there's a temptation to feel disturbed and churned up and try to go into finding solutions and grasping at things. And we get to turn away from the evidence of all the mortal stuff going on around us, and we get to turn to God. And what does that prayer look like? It's like, not my will, but thine be done. The desire to turn to God and to see the allness of God and the fullness of God's might, and the fact that the law of God is operating. And even though the evidence doesn't show us that, to be able to trust that. There's this wonderful poem by John Greenleaf Whittier, and the last stanza of it is, drop thy still dews of quietness till all our strivings cease. Take from us now the strain and stress, and let our ordered lives confess the beauty of thy peace. It's like, are we willing to do that? Are we willing to drop thy still dews of quietness till all our strivings cease? Drop all the strivings. Take from us now the strain and stress. Like, really turn to the power that's larger than us and say, okay, God, I'm willing to let go of my human outlining of what I think this solution should look like, because that's where all the strain and stress came from, trying to hold on to something and then not having that come true. Am I willing to let go of my design and let God be God? Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. It's like Mrs. Eddy talks about, Mrs. Eddy, the discoverer of Christian Science, who wrote Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures. She said, prayer coupled with a fervent, habitual desire to know and do the will of God will bring us into all truth. That's like, do I have that fervent, habitual desire to know and do the will of God? When I first got out of college and was looking for an apartment and was finding nothing, I lived on the South Shore with my mom, south of Boston, about an hour outside of Boston, and did not relish the idea of commuting. I had a job, but I did not relish the idea of getting up really early and commuting an hour each way, and sometimes longer with traffic. And I prayed and prayed and prayed, and nothing. There were just no apartments, and every situation was not what I was thinking it would be, and just kept kind of struggling. And finally let it go. Finally turned it over to God and say, okay, God, if wherever you want me, I will be. I'm here to serve you wherever you want me to be. And honestly, within minutes of my just turning it over, the phone rang. It was somebody I didn't really know, but they had heard that I was looking, and they had known me from this youth group I'd been involved in from years before. And they somehow found my number, called me up and said, my roommate's leaving and I've got this really great apartment. It's right across the street from where I was going to work. And would you be interested in sharing an apartment? And I said, yeah. And the rent was like rent controlled. So it was like, I don't know, $125 a month for me. It was like in Boston. That's like unheard of now. But it was instantaneous. Like as soon as I turned it over, the phone rang. And that was the first sort of apartment after college and the first sort of living on my own. And every place I have ever lived, and I say that every place I have ever lived has been guided by God. But it only happens when I turn over my will to God's and trust that God is working it out, and God actually knows the details way better than I do. And I can trust that it's all working out and the law of God is operating. And I can just like take my little sticky paws off the controls and let God be God, and things work out a whole lot better. And we can just drop the strivings, drop the strain and the stress, and just kind of, take that deep breath. I am loved, I am safe, God is here, all is well. and all is working out for good. The expectancy of good is a way forward. So lots of love. Share this, like this. See you next time.